Hi there, welcome to my channel. My name is Sandra and you're watching The Schwoven's Nest. Let's get going. My first project is using this wood pumpkin from the Dollar Tree. I'm going to take some painter's tape and mask off sections and I'm going to paint it different colors. So the first thing I'm going to do is just mask off where I think I want the bottom portion to be. I'm going to be using this blessed sign, so I want to make sure that I have enough space so you can see those letters and that they'll pop. This bottom portion is going to be painted white. I removed the paint from the white section as soon as I was done painting, and now I've added another section, and I'm going to be doing this one black. Both of these paints are just my DIY chalk paint, but you could also use just regular acrylic paint. Using a detail brush, I'm going to paint just the letters of this wood sign. I'm going to leave the bottom blank for now because I have some different plans for it later. I found this sign at Michael's last year and I believe it was $1.49, so it was a great deal. And it's been sitting in my stash waiting for a project, and I finally found something suitable for it. For the inside, I really like the wood look, but this was a little too light for me. So I decided to go ahead and grab some of this dark brown scrapbook paper that I have. This came from Michael's as well, and it was just in their singles. I'm going to go ahead and cut it to the size I need it to be, and then I'm just going to use Mod Podge to glue it down. For the bottom portion of this blessed sign, I decided to take my Americana gel stain in dark walnut and just give it a really good coat. I wanted this to sort of blend in with the colors of the wood paper on the pumpkin. To make this project look more high-end, I'm using some of this jute rope, and I'm going to start on the back and glue it around on the pumpkin stem. So what I like to do is see how it's kind of open and frayed there. That actually is a great thing because then all four of those pieces will be able to get glue on them and then it'll hold very well. So I did have to glue this around all the time because this rope seemed to be a little stiffer. It was at the end of the roll, so it had a lot of curl to it. So I did end up using hot glue on the front and the back every time I wrapped it around. Once I got to the top of the wood portion, I decided to just keep going and just use up the rest of the rope by folding it over on itself and hot gluing it down. Now I'm taking another piece of rope and I'm going to start wrapping it all around the edge of the pumpkin. I think this just gives it more of a finished look and you get a nice trim on it. It pulls it all together. I just love doing this with the Dollar Tree signs. If you're new to my channel, thanks so much for clicking on that video. I would love it if you would consider subscribing. If you've been around for a while, thanks so much for your support. I really appreciate each and every one of you. I found these sweet little paper sunflowers at the Dollar Tree, and I thought they would be perfect as a real bright pop of color on this sign. I'm first starting out just putting a few little lamb's ear leaves, and then I'm also going to add some of the wheat that came from the Dollar Tree, as well as some of my favorite flowers, the solo wood flowers. Before I glue any other things on, I usually like to plan what my little arrangement is going to look like. So that's what I'm doing here. I'm just going to be using 3 of the little sunflowers and then adding some of the wheat and just figuring out where I want everything placed before I get to gluing. For the last little touch, I just added some of these little tiny green sprigs, and I think this floral arrangement is just perfect for this pumpkin. The last thing to do for this project is to assemble the two pieces. So I'm using a generous amount of hot glue, and I'm also going to add a little bit of glue on the B and the D where they touch the rope on the sides, just to make sure that my pumpkin stays upright. I love how this turned out. I think it's probably my favorite out of all 3 projects today. Today's video is in collaboration with Megan over at Megan's Painted and Distressed. Megan asked me to collaborate with her on a Dollar Tree challenge, and we're doing a What Would You Make Fall DIY challenge for you today. We're using all of the same Dollar Tree products and probably creating something completely different from one another. If you haven't seen Megan's channel, I'll have her link down in my description box along with her video link. She is so close to 1,000 subscribers, and I would really love it if we could get her over that milestone. So do me a favor, when you're done watching my video, pop over to Megan and hit that subscribe button. For this project, I'm starting out using this wooden box that I thrifted a while ago. It's been used for a couple of different things, some storage, but I thought it's time to give him a makeover. And I had the perfect idea. I'm just going to give him one rough coat of my DIY chalk paint in white. I was so excited to find these palette pumpkins at my Dollar Tree this year. They're so cute. They also had some acorns, but I'm a pumpkin girl, so I decided to grab a couple of these. I'm just using my Drydex spackle to fill in the holes because I'm not going to be hanging this one. I'm also going to give this one coat of the chalk paint in white, and I'm going to do the front and the back. If you've been watching my channel, you know that I love to go on the site pixabay.com and find some totally free images to use in my projects. I found this acorn botanical print, and it is in color, but I changed it to black and white because I wanted this to be more of a neutral fall decor item. So I went ahead and I'm just going to be gluing it on with some Mod Podge, and then I'm going to be cutting out the slats. You can see that I've already started to do that. And then I'm going to just add a little bit more on either side just to fill up those white spaces. I'll have the color version and the black and white version available on my website. The link is down in my description box. Just look for free printables on my website. Using the color gray, which is just something that I mixed black and white together to get the right shade, I'm just going to be painting in the peduncle, which is what it's called officially, the stem of the pumpkin. Then I'm going to go around the outside edge of the pumpkin and do some distressing, just pulling my brush in from the edge so that it has a little bit of a feathered look. Then while my brush still has a little bit of paint on it, I'm going to run it up and down the palette lines and give that a little bit of distressing as well. Keeping with a gray and white theme, I'm going to use the same chip brush and just run it up and down the box on all sides, making sure I get the tops, the sides, the corners, and then I'm just going to also just kind of do that feathering motion from the outside in to give the corners even a little bit more color. This is a wood cutout that I believe I picked up at Michael's last year or the year before, and I did use it in a project. I then took the project apart and I was left with this word already painted black. Perfect. I just went over it with my white paint and dry brushed it to give it more of a distressed look as well. I'm going to use hot glue and apply it to the thankful sign and then glue it right in the center of my pumpkin. I'm going to use hot glue to glue the pumpkin to the front of the box. And this will be a beautiful decor piece to have in your home. You can add some really bright florals to it like I'm going to do in a moment, or you could have some muted colors. You could even use this on your dinner table for some cutlery and utensils, that kind of thing. So there's lots of different ways that you could use a box like this. I think it turned out absolutely gorgeous. The last DIY I have for you today is using these little wooden apples. And what I did is I removed the stem from the bottom and then painted them with my honey brown paint to make them look like tiny little pumpkins. But my idea for the pumpkins changed into acorns. I have an oak tree in my front yard, and the squirrels have been really busy this year. So I have a bunch of the acorn caps, and I'm going to glue them right on top of these little wooden apples. I have some of these fall leaves from the Dollar Tree that were in my stash, so I'm just going to cut smaller leaf shapes out of them. I'm going to make a little mini wreath using this embroidery hoop. Now this is plastic and it came from my Dollarama for $1.75. I'm only going to use the inside ring, so I'm just going to open it up and pop that out. Since this is plastic, I'm going to use a piece of jute rope and just glue it inside the little groove there, and that will help me to attach things to the wreath rather than trying to get it glued onto the plastic. I'm going to start by wrapping this little mini greenery garland over the wreath, and it is wired, so it's really super easy to do that. I'm just going to spread it apart a little bit because I don't want it too full. I'm going to start by gluing on the acorns. I switched over to a different glue gun that has a finer tip because working with these small items, when you use a larger tip glue gun, you just get way too much glue hanging around. So I'm going to just go ahead and glue all 6 of these around, just changing their position each time. I added a few more of the leaves just to make it a little bit fuller. I'm using this adorable ribbon that I picked up at Michael's. It has blue and orange pumpkins on it, and what I'm going to do is create a ribbon tail and glue that in between all of the acorns. So I'm going to glue it down first and then create a little bit of a bump and then glue it down again so it's sort of popping up. I dovetailed the ends of the ribbon and then continued all the way around in between each of the acorns. I thought it needed a little more fullness, so I'm just taking little pieces of this garland and gluing them close to the acorn, giving it a little bit of a bend so it kind of tucks itself in right next to the acorns. I added a shoestring bow, and then I also added another little tiny bow on top of it, and then I glued in half of a green pumpkin. I had the other half on a different project that I used, and then I decided to just glue it on to this. And I think this little wreath turned out super cute. Since the theme of this video is Thanksgiving, I decided I still needed a little grateful sign. So I'm just taking one of these wooden tags that I picked up at Michael's. They came in a bag of 10, and I printed off the word grateful just with a green background, and I'm going to Mod Podge that right onto the sign and then glue it onto the wreath. Thank you so much for watching my video today. I truly appreciate it. Don't forget to go over to my description box and click on the link to Megan's channel and her video. Hit that red subscribe button for her. Let's get her over 1,000 subscribers. If you liked what you saw, I would love for you to give me a thumbs up. That helps me get promoted more on YouTube and it helps my channel grow. Stay tuned to my channel because I've got a couple more Thanksgiving videos ready for you soon. See you in the next one.